This House Rules, where we're going to talk about house rules that we've adopted into our board game lives. Me personally, I'm not a huge house rule gamer. I'm very much the designer meant to play the game like this. We're going to play the game like this, because personally it's hard for me to draw that line of when is a house rule turn into cheating the game as well. But I'm interested to see if there's any house rules that you guys have implemented in your games that help improve and bring a second life to this.
I know Nee has one that I'm about to fight him over, but it's fine.
I'm looking forward to this.
There's a few of them. Look, and this kind of just stemmed from the discussion of we were talking about, like, can you remember when we all did this when we played this game? It's like, oh my God, yes. And we realized that, stemming from what you said, Ralph, which is that a lot of house rules come from either things that we were trying to fix or just things we didn't like.
Or even like a misinterpretation.
A misinterpretation, yeah. I found that a lot of the older rules that we will talk about have come from people trying to change games. But I will say in this new generation of games, there's not really a need to revamp rules a lot of the time because the games are so specific and have really play-tested rules, whereas back in the day, they weren't. We did actually put this question out to our community. We put it out to our Facebook group. We put it out to Discord. And we actually did have a couple of responses. I'd like to start with one from our Discord community. Mr. Formerly Offensive Name, Kuntz. That's not actually a rude word, but he's from France. Does sound like a rude word, but it's not what you think it is. He basically said... he used to play in a Zombicide. His house rule would say, always apply the new rules from the latest edition. So that was one thing. But he also said that one house rule that he does, which is that in Carcassonne, the rules state that you are to pick up the tile at the start of your turn and then place it. His house rule has always been pick up the tile at the end of your turn so you can start to get an idea of what the landscape is before someone puts down their tile.
That's a really good idea.
Just on the Zombicide, I'm a big Zombicide gamer myself at the time. The original rule was if you're in the same zone as another player and there's a zombie in there and you fire off a ranged weapon, unless you hit a perfect 6, you shoot yourself. And normally it hits on a 2 or a 3. And they changed that in the new rules. Whereas if you roll a 5-6, you hit the zombie, a 3-4, you hit the other player.
Right.
And I think a 1-2, you hit yourself. So I've adopted that as well very early on into it as well.
I do appreciate games that have living rule sets, like Millennium Blades, for example. That has got a living rule set.
I'm diving into Arkham Horror LCG a little bit as well. But I found with games that have that living rule set, they just ban some previous cards entirely, and then it's hard to keep track of as well.
We also have Schmickwahoo, sorry. He's one of our friends from the MacArthur Board Gamers. He's on Discord as well. He says, primarily in setup, he'll draw 2 cards instead of 1. Occupation cards in Feast for Odin comes to mind.
Yes.
Yeah, so I haven't played Feast for Odin, but I believe that's to speed the game up a little bit.
It's basically...
It's to give you more options.
Yes, to give you more options. So, just so our listeners know, so for those who haven't played Feast for Odin, an element of the game are these different cards, and they're occupation cards. There are actually 3 different decks that you can choose to play with, and decks are huge. And when you consider that the game...
They give you your asynchronous powers. Really.
Sometimes, but they also give you other abilities.
Asymmetric. I need to point this out. I've been listening back to our podcast, and we say asynchronous so many times when we mean asymmetric.
Maybe we all say it differently.
Maybe, yeah. That's another pun. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I had to point that out because if people have been listening and they've probably been yelling at us, going, "That's the wrong word, you idiots!"
Yeah.
Anyways, asymmetric is the word we mean.
We're learning, we're getting better.
Exactly.
Yes, we will get there. But essentially, the issue that you have with the base rule set on these cards is that the decks are so big, and the game itself takes 2 hours. You may only see 3 of these cards, 4 of these cards, maybe. And they may be dead draws every single time. At least being able to see a couple, it definitely does make things a little bit better. It can certainly improve your engine. So yes, I really do like that rule.
Yep. So then Schmickabu also said that in Carcassonne, for especially just get rid of the farmers, just to reduce the length of the game.
Yep, absolutely.
They're in the base game?
Yes, but they're the meeples that go on the green. So you can it's either just road or town.
Yeah, so
that's it. Roads, towns, or churches.
What you can do, you can lie a meeple down on the green, and any surrounding areas. Well, if it's
the bigger field,
bigger field, and you get farmers. But
Where's the fun in that?
Well, it does help with kids who don't have to worry about green
that's
in the
fair.
farm.
Yeah, making the game more accessible.
And then the final one that we have on our Discord community, which you should go to on our website, boardgamegateway.com. There's the links there for it. We had Carnival, who's Tristan, and he said that in the Arkham Horror living card game, he house rules so that you draw 3 weaknesses at the start and you discard one, and then you discard one of your choice and then one random from the remaining 2. So
generally in that game, I believe your character starts with a standard weakness and then a random one goes in.
Yeah.
And they can be absolutely game breaking.
And that's why he said that this is where, like, you know, in an 8 scenario campaign, it's not fun to play with a weakness that is pretty much insta-gibbing you.
So I don't want to spoil anything, but Tristan and I will have some words about this.
I did say to him...
I completely agree with this wholeheartedly.
Yeah, so he basically said, look, you know, so house rule it so that they draw 3, you discard one of your choice, but then you have to choose, and then one of the other ones is
I think
random.
that's genius. I'm a house rule gamer now.
So that's good. So those are the responses that we came from our Discord community. So thank you to those guys. We did have a few on our Facebook page as well. There's been some really funny ones, but before we get to the Facebook ones, I just want to point out this kind of stemmed from the specific rule that we all kind of know, and most of the people know this, which is the Monopoly house rule, the free parking house rule, which is instead of any time that you have to pay money to the bank, where do you put it? In the center of the board.
Center of the board.
And if you then land on free parking, what do you get? You get all of the money. And I understand why this is a house rule and why people pick this as a house rule.
The game goes over quicker, hopefully.
Well, it's more so about being less mean because you're like, hey, you're low on money. Maybe you'll get an injection of cash. But the thing is, you don't realize that is the complete wrong thing to do because it's just like
makes it longer.
It makes the game longer, but it also takes money. It keeps money in the game that's supposed to be out of the game. And then it's like, yeah, people like to do it as the catch-up mechanic. Like, you know, if you're in last and you land on free parking, you get the money. But the thing is, if the person who's in first gets it, the rich get richer.
Absolutely.
It's just even worse.
I just want to say another, I'm going to say this is a house rule because people don't realize it's the normal rule of when you land on a property and don't want to buy it, it goes up to auction. It's a live auction.
I've always played that. I've always played the auction.
The game is so much better, but typically a lot of families just like, you know what? Next player's turn, and the dice keep rolling.
That's how we played it when we were kids. But to be fair, we were kids.
Yep.
As we got older, though, we absolutely adopted that rule.
Yeah, no, my family still doesn't do that.
With free parking, I grew up thinking that was the rule. And I only found out that wasn't the case one time when I was hanging out with my sister and a friend of hers and things like that, and for some reason Monopoly appeared on the table, and then I started throwing money in the middle of the table.
Yeah.
And then both my sister and I said, "What do you mean that's wrong?" And they're going, no, it's wrong. And it led to an argument, and the rule came out, and I put up the booklet.
I love about it. Like, they designed the whole board so each corner does a thing, and free parking is literally nothing.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the other thing, which is the other rule in Monopoly, which people don't realize, which gets house ruled, which is you have to have enough houses to build 4 on each of the properties. And if there is not enough houses for you to build 4 houses, you cannot build a hotel.
I didn't realize
Whereas people realize, people will go, well, I've got 2 houses, therefore I need 6, then the hotels, right? If I, let's say, had 2 on each of the oranges, and there are 6, so I've got 6 on there, I need another 6, then I can get the hotels. Now, if there's not enough houses in the box, people just go, that's all right, there's hotels, I will just pay the money that needs to get to the hotels. Whereas, like, that's wrong. You actually need to pay the money to get to the houses, and once the houses are there, then you can take the hotels. So this is the whole point of the game, which is you can starve the housing market by just going, I'm never going to upgrade to hotels, and just put 4 houses on my things and leave them as 4 houses. In fact, it's an actual strategy.
You're hoarding the houses.
And you hoard the houses so no one can put houses or hotels on it. And that is a legitimate strategy. But people house rule it to go, well, I can just build hotels, whatever. That's actually not a rule in the game of Monopoly as well. But everyone house rules it because everyone goes, I just want to build hotels. It's like, well, you can't. And this is the point. We talk about Monopoly as a bad game. It's designed as a mean, cruel game, not as a game, but as actually to show you why capitalism is actually bad.
Yeah.
And the thing is, people go, well, this was used to be what everyone played, so therefore you made these rules to make the game
We
more
have too
fun.
many apartments in Sydney.
Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
right. I do want to go to the Facebook group now, and I do want to say that Tristan Carnival from Discord, he actually put one on Facebook as well, which is, he said, when we used to play Catan, we played a rule that if you rolled a 7, you choose where to put the robber and who to steal from, which is kind of standard. But you could offer to move it to the desert if they gave you a specific card instead. So I could say to the person, I will either take a random card from you, or you give me that wool that you just rolled right now. So it's either you can give me the sheep, or I will go to your hand and potentially take something random.
I kind of don't mind that.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah, so it's
It's
basically
not game breaking,
yeah.
and it keeps the game moving.
Yeah.
Which
It
is
does.
what I'm a
So it's
fan
like,
of.
but by me giving you an ultimatum,
Yeah.
it means that I can put it on the desert and you can still earn income,
Yeah.
but you have to give me the
Also,
card that
what's
I'm
the point
asking
of the
for.
desert tile?
It's because it's
The robber can start off the board.
well, it's just it's also probably because of the amount of numbers, because you need to have two twos, two
maybe.
12s, and then or whatever
Yeah.
it is, like 1 2 1 12.
But I'm pretty sure there's only one number. Like, why couldn't there be 2 12s? That wouldn't be game breaking.
Well, it would give you more potential to roll a 12 than a 2.
I don't know.
They're
But
still the same odds.
Well, still.
I don't know.
I don't know.
So anyway,
I
but
can't ask Klaus anymore.
I liked that rule because I
Yeah.
thought that was an interesting
Yeah, that's a
take
good
on
one.
it, which is that, hey, I will keep the production
Yeah.
going, but you have to give me that specific thing. So I can either cram your production up right now, or you give me the wool that is
Yeah.
going.
I'm a
And I
fan.
think that's a pretty good house rule. And then finally, Lee Perrott, is that how he pronounced his
Yep.
last name? That's our designer friend, I believe
is,
it is.
yes.
He said he uses this house rule to place tiles in Oleon. The rule says to look through and choose any tile in each stack. We make it a market of X tiles face up for each stack, where X is the number of players. This adds tension, saves time, encourages different strategies, and gives newer players a better chance. So Oleon is a bag builder game.
Yep.
And this strategy is basically saying, look, let's not make it as slow and cumbersome. It basically means that, yes, there's some information given away, but it means that if everyone has the same information, it's more choices.
Yeah, so in Oleon, there is a stack of tiles that you do get access to. This is especially in the base game.
Mm-hmm.
And typically what happens is when you are able to pick from these tiles, you can literally pick up the whole stack, go through them, and then pick whichever one you like. There are situations in the game where, especially if you can see what certain people are doing, you can either be super meanie pants and take certain tiles. Like I think the tile's called a turret in particular. But there are a few tiles that you can basically just go through, take, and really begin to steamroll away, just move away with the game. I love the idea of having a market because, as Lee says, it forces you to consider different strategies, just like in any other engine builder that has a market, where you can't predict what is going to come out.
Yeah.
It's great that it's great that it's the base rules where you can pick things up and look through it, but I do love the idea of having a market.
Yeah, no, I think it's
a
well.
really good one. Just one house rule that a lot of people do that realize it's not really that's it. In the draw 4 stack on another draw 4, or a draw 4 and do a +2.
No,
you can't do that.
No, you can't do that.
Yes,
That's
you
Everyone
wrong.
does that.
No,
can't.
yes, you can.
No, you can't.
That's a house rule.
No, you can't.
This is my house rule.
I don't care.
I know you can. Well, this is how we play.
I don't care. It's
Here's how
wrong.
it works. Which
Oh,
is
here we go.
so +2s.
That's where
and
player count doesn't exist in this
So,
castle.
+2s and +4s can be played on each other,
can't.
so long as they're the same color. So if I change,
Why can a 6 yellow be on a 6 blue?
if I play a +4 and I say it's a blue, therefore the next one that can come out is a +2
This
on
is an
blue.
example of a house rule.
It
is
gets
what I'm
worse.
saying.
Gone wrong.
It gets better,
Yes.
I should say. So
No,
we
it's-
then also allow skips and reverses to be played on said
No,
cards.
it didn't get
So
better. It got worse.
He's already dead.
Yeah.
If you play a reverse card on a +2, it sends it right back to the person who sent you the +2.
No
The
wonder Matt hates you.
The color,
Yeah.
he's never played with these rules. The colors, Look, colors must be matching. Okay, so like we have some decorum in the space.
I was gonna say, so like you see, you can change the color just by playing any card.
Color must still be matching. So if it's a plus.
The card doesn't even have to be from Uno.
Yeah.
And then the other one on top of that, which is the skip cards. If someone plays a +2 on me, I can play the skip and then sends it to the next person. So it means that, hey, I can, we were just like, look, at its core, it's a bit of a boring game anyway. I just get bored with it. So we're just like, look, let's just add in some random stuff that kind of, and actually, to be fair, it actually made the game a little bit more tactical from time to time because you were being very strategical and waiting for people to throw out skips and reverses before you start hammering down the twos.
Because you were jumping on the table and just wanted to strangle other people because you were
I'd
playing
say punch people in the face. Yeah. But that was one.
That's a painful house rule.
Speaking of Carcassonne, the other one I just really quickly want to put out there, which is one of my house rules, which apparently was a variant, but I didn't realize this. But is like what I did with Evie and a few of the younger kids is that I let them have 3 tiles in their hands instead of 1. So you have 3 tiles, so you have 3 options.
Yeah,
Granted
you mentioned this one at the start.
So this one does allow, it does mean that some people don't get access to a couple of tiles because you're obviously hoarding them.
But maybe you can discard one at the end of your turn.
Yeah, something like that. But it just meant that the newer kids, rather than only having one option, just gave them a little bit more options to think about, so they could go, oh, I have this, and maybe they can start to pre-plan some things. So that was a house rule that we used to like.
Yeah, with kids in mind, the one house rule that we still consistently do, particularly for my younger son, is when we play King of Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
The rule is that adults are not allowed to attack. Adults can only win by getting points. Just so for those who don't know,
so you can't attack at any point.
At any point, you can't attack.
Hard.
So you can heal. You can take cards from the market.
Take energy.
You can take energy. And you can score points. That's it. But you cannot attack.
Well, you're too kind.
We both lost our game of King of Tokyo that we were playing because we both just got hammered by people like the dude inside of Tokyo.
Yeah, and so it makes it does make it really interesting.
It would.
It adds a level of excitement for the kids because for my son in particular, it just means that anything's got numbers on it. Nah, don't want those. I just want claws. I'm going to attack everything.
Fair,
yeah. So he has a bunch of fun with that. And the other thing, actually going back to Cascadia, the other house rule that we do implement, again, for my 2 youngest, is what we let them do is we let them pick at the very beginning of the game. So their first round can be any combination of animal token and tile. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a matching pair. It can be anyone on the board. We also let them start with an acorn at the beginning as well.
Yeah, anything that makes the game more accessible to kids is always a good thing.
And I think that's what house rules were in general. They've always been a way of making something either more accessible or more fun for people. Yeah.
Well,
Ralph, what about you? Give us some of yours.
As I mentioned, I'm not really a big house rule gamer. Damien and I have recently dived into Frosthaven. So there's a new rule in there where you get your secret objective, your battle goal, as it were, and you draw 3 cards, and you get to pick which one you keep. In Gloomhaven, that was just 2 cards. And I think when I go back to Gloomhaven, because I will, I'll be drawing 3 cards instead of 2. Because that generally, when you get just 2 options, you basically you see those 2 cards, and you're like, I can't get any of those.
But you also know immediately which one is better and which one is not.
Well, no, you always take the better option.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean though. Like, you generally know there's one good and one bad, or either both bad. There's never generally a better.
As Damien knows, sometimes you get a card and you're like, my character, because they're all unique, is not able to achieve this.
That's right. Like for instance, a good example, like I've done this in Gloomhaven, where my character is a heavy, for instance. Their goal is literally stand in front and just take damage. And the 2 cards I'll get will be something like defeat an elite monster with a single attack and loot the most gold in the round. And it's like, I can't do either of those. That's not my job. Yeah. And it's
or
like,
it's like never do an attack or never kill a monster. But I'm the guy that kills all the monsters.
That's right.
Yeah. So it just, it just makes that a heavier game more achievable. Like you get more sense of progression from it. And some people might say that's cheating. But it's just making that game more accessible, I feel, and seeing more of the game as you achieve those things, which is really cool. Making the games accessible. Captain Sonar, it's a game where 2 teams of 4 players on basically they're playing Battleship and 4 players on one submarine. and there's a captain that says north, and then the person to their left basically says confirm, and the person to the left says confirm as well. There's one guy on the other team who's trying to listen out for what the captain's saying to see what direction their ship is heading. So what we house ruled is the captain says north, then the first mate says north, then the engineer says north. So they have 3 chances to hear the coordinate, and that makes the radio guy a bit more accessible.
Yep.
Because he's so crucial to figuring out where that vessel is.
And you know what? The radio guy will still stuff it up because
Oh,
why?
yeah.
He's had 4 or 5 years before that.
Can I tell you what I think is the best way to play Captain Sonar very quickly?
First thing in the morning.
No, it's the 2 versus 2 variant, which is not in real time.
No.
You play the game.
No,
I much preferred it because it became this really fun tactical game of talking to each other, going,
I disagree.
Man, you're wrong. No, 3v3 is where it's at for me. 4v4 is a nice perk, but 3v3 is perfect for that game.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm okay with some level of cheating in some games.
Cluedo. I'm going to tell you about that.
No, I'm going to tell you a funny story
you
about
go
Cluedo
first and I'll
too.
tell you my Cluedo.
But in terms of cheating, like sometimes you play a big heavy game like Spirit Island and you're an hour or 2 in and you lose and everyone's like, let's pretend that didn't happen and just keep playing. Like
Yeah,
I'm okay
that's
with
fine.
that. We're not going to say, yes, we won the game. Like we're just like, we're happy. We're going to keep playing the game. Funny story about Cluedo. Played a game once where, not me, set up the game and you're supposed to put 1 murder weapon, 1 bad guy, and 1 location in.
Yeah.
We had 1 guy and 2 murder weapons in there.
Oh.
So that was a fun game when no one knew what the hell was going on the whole game. One of my family members, she was telling me they played Cluedo and her dad won the game. Fantastic. You win the game. You have a big celebratory moment, right? It was acted like he scored a goal in like the FIFA World Cup or something. He lifted his shirt over his head and ran into the wall.
Classic. Love it.
So that led
Love
to an
it.
injury.
Love it.
And you know what the worst part is? He would have gotten a yellow card for taking his shirt off
I
as
bet,
well. That's
yeah.
terrible.
All right, very quickly, my Cluedo house rule, and we've played it with me and my brothers, which is Cluedo at its core is an information gathering game, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, it doesn't matter how you get your information. Cheating is encouraged. It's like if you can look at someone else's pad, if you can look at their cards,
we did that all the
it
time.
does not matter. It is literally, that is the way we play the game now. It's literally, it does, like there is no...
You may as well just make it a co-op at that point.
No, it's not, because no one wants to give out information for free, because no one wants to be like, and so that's why everyone's keeping it secret. But it means that it means that you get really people who are trying to be sneaky in really fun, interesting ways, and it just becomes this. All right, if I can cheat, how do I do it? And that's how we do it.
Yeah, my uncle's one of those. He's a gun for that. He'll randomly throughout the game wander around the table offering drinks to people and stuff like that. And he's always looking over shoulders or he's putting his hand on the table trying to take away their bit of paper. He's free,
All right, I think we should start to wrap it up there.
Definitely. But I hope you guys don't judge us for our version of house rules of games. We just want to make games fun for everyone, and that's what we should all do, really. So if you have any fun house rules, please let us know on our Discord or Facebook. And that's pretty much going to round up the episode. So I'm Ralph, your host tonight from the Board Game Gateway, and to my left we have Nebo.
Yeah, I'm the guy in charge of Discord and the YouTube, so head over to both of those things. Go to YouTube, which is at BG Gateway. You can type that into the YouTube search bar and you'll find us there, or Discord you can find on our website www.boardgamegateway.com. All the links are on our social page there.
And to my right we have Damien, our new host.
Hi, I'm the new guy.
Keep it up, mate. We'll see how long you last.
Thanks everyone, I'll catch you next week.
He is the new guy. We haven't given him the hazing yet.